Assalamu alaikum and good morning. This is again Dr. Syed Arif Kamal, and today we are going to discuss the process of measurement of height of a child. The main reference for this is the manual for obtaining anthropometric measurement, and the link has been displayed in the slide. And also an additional reference is the additional file to measurement of height and mass of a recent paper, in which I have included some photographs which has labeled the different specific procedures. Actually, measurement of height is one of the essential measurements during the childhood and adolescence, and the biological process involved behind this is the tissue synthesis. Failure to gain height in childhood becomes a first indicator that the body systems are not working properly and they need to be addressed at an early stage. In case one of the children is stunted, which means they short for age, and the other children may have normal height, then scoliosis may be suspected, which is a curvature of a spinal column, progressive in increasing and affecting the skeleton and so on. Excessively tall children are at higher risk to develop scoliosis. There are also indications that wasting, which means that underweight for height, is induced by stunting. Now, in the manual and the additional file, I have given the materials required to perform this. The most important thing which comes for these measurements is the least count. And what's a least count? A least count is the least possible measurement which an instrument can give. Now, if you are measuring the height to a least count of inches, as maybe it is done normally in the different field studies, then we cannot use it for serious scientific studies. We cannot determine from this height whether the child is gaining height properly or whether there is an underlying disease. So therefore, our NGDS team, the very first challenge for us was to develop such a height measurement system or a stature measurement system which is not very expensive. You have to buy it from England and so on. So therefore, you can just implement it in selected places. But it could be developed from the indigenous material. Like we are using the engineering tape and we are mounting it properly in a scientific manner, and the accuracy is not only comparable to the accuracy of the rest of the world, but in fact, as I'll tell you, that we have increased this accuracy 20-fold. We have developed a wall-mounted height measurement system .
Okay. We have developed.
Why say? All right. So, the NGS team has developed the wall-mounted height measurement system, and it has a least count of 0.1 centimeter during 1998 to 2010. And since 2011, the least count of height measurement system in SF Growth Laboratory was enhanced to 0.01 centimeter. And this is the set square which we have used for that. And from 2016 onward, the least count has been enhanced to 0.05 centimeter. And this is the set square we are using for this. And essentially what we are doing is that we are matching the 19 graduations on the main scale with 20 graduations on this vernier scale, and that's how we have measured this. Now, whenever you are doing any of these scientific measurements or any laboratory measurements, the step is that you have to check the performance, you have to check whether the equipments are performing properly at the start of each session, let's say every day. So at the start of each daily measurement session, a standard cylinder must be used to check if the mounted scale is working properly. You know the height of that cylinder, and then you will be measuring the height using our wall mounted system, and then if the height is given correctly, which means that your system is working properly. The method is to measure length of a cylinder using vernier calipers and then take the reading through the mounted scale. And now I will go to the step-by-step protocols. I have included the labeled pictures in this additional file too, which you can see, and you can go to the link and you can study it in detail. The first thing is that you have to obtain these measurements in the morning between 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Why? Because a child is taller in the morning 1 to 1.5 centimeter as compared to evening. Therefore, personally, I don't like the studies or anthropometric studies in which they report that they have been taking the measurements throughout the day. And check the level of the floor using the spirit level. If the floor is not level, inclined along the line formed by joining heels of the standing child, then either shift the place or use a wooden board which is adjusted to the horizontal level by keeping paper supports under the corners. Check the angle made by the wall with the floor using a set square. If the wall is not vertical, try to find a vertical wall or fix a wooden board vertically on the wall. You see, the concepts of civil engineering are being used over here, checking the alignment and so on in order to measure the height. This is also a process. Now paste the chart sheet on the wall or the door with the help of the mounting tape. Now in the NGDS laboratory, we don't need to put the chart sheet now because we have got the black tiles which have been mounted properly, and so we have mounted the scale on that. But in the field studies where this is not possible or available, then you will have to place a chart sheet on the wall. A better option is to use strong glue to stick the chart sheet to the wall. Now place steel measuring tape vertically on the center of the chart sheet from the floor up to the 2 meter length with the help of the transparent tape very firmly in order to avoid cuts. Gloves should be worn during the mounting process. You have to check the vertical alignment and the parallax errors using plumb line and mirror respectively. Now this is the important thing. You have to instruct the child to remove everything: head covering, undershirt, shoes, socks, accessories which include bangles, hairband, hair clips, pony rings, except short underpants. A box should be provided to the child to keep removed accessories for safekeeping. Undressing is mandatory for the measurement of the height. It is, if the child is properly disrobed, then we can ascertain the maintenance of proper posture, non-flexing of knees and elbows, the attention position for the measurement of the height, non-lifting of heels, body alignment with wall-mounted tape, toes symmetric about the sagittal plane containing edge of the engineering tape, head straight, as well as ensure complete inhalation during the measurement of the height or stature. Using a disposable comb, part here leaving gap in the middle where the set square is closed. Comb should not be shared by the children to avoid transmission of infection. You can ask the child to bring own comb. The child should stand erect in attention position like in the military parade with heels together and touching the wall, buttocks and upper part of the back in contact with the vertical wall. Hands should be straight and open, palms touching the thighs. You must centralize the position of the child with the help of set square, passing between both feet and aligned to the measuring tape on the wall as well as the horizontal line drawn on the floor. Chin should be parallel. The examiner should hold a pencil in front of the face of the child and instruct the child to look at the pencil. Knees and elbows should not be flexed. Alternatively, mount a mirror facing the examinee and ask the child to look into own eyes, and that way the head would be straight. Of course, the mirror should be at the eye level of the child. Then, ask the child to trap maximum air and measure height with the help of a set square by touching, not pressing it, over the head. The other side aligned with the measuring tape mounted on the wall. By the way, the children below the age of 7 years may not be able to inhale completely, and then you will have to measure whatever it is. That is the point, that when sometimes the child is not able to stand straight because of some abnormality, child does not want to. So then you will be taking the measurements in the non-standard conditions, but then note down on the sheet. For taller individuals, the measurer should stand on a wooden chair to bring eyes in line with the head of the person whose height is being measured, in particular if it is being done for the parents. The set square should be placed so that its surface lies in the sagittal plane through the nose. And what is the sagittal plane? Sagittal plane is this plane which is dividing the body into the left and the right parts. To make sure that this is the case, hold another set square parallel to the transverse plane. Like if I have got this one set square, I am putting it over here to putting for my head. Then another set square would be placed like this with the wall, so that suppose there is a wall, so that way this set square is really perpendicular. Note height to the least count of 0.005 centimeter using the set squares with enhanced vernier scale mounted on edge. 20 graduations of vernier scale coinciding with 19 graduations on main scale. Ask the child to step away from the wall and use a magnifier torch if you need one. The measurement should be done with the assistance of a social scientist or a teacher. Now, whenever you are listing these measurements and procedures, then you should know what are the sources of hazards or injury, and these are sharp edges on both sides of steel tape if not properly covered by transparent tape, resulting in body abrasion or cut. Number 2, top of the steel tape not properly mounted on the wall could come out, peeling off the steel tape and causing injury to the child. The third one is the chart sheet not mounted firmly on the wall might come out, bringing the steel tape along and causing injury. Sharp edges of set square going in eyes or ear. Now, what are the sources of error? When I was in Aga Khan, then we had a carpeted room, and in that room we mounted that. So that had the carpet is being pressed, and so if it is being pressed unevenly and so on, so that would introduce some error. Uneven floor, mud during field studies, level of surface in the laboratory, hair on the head, scarf if not taken off, leggings, socks and shoes if not removed, breathing, not complete inhaling, heels lifted up, toes lifted up, measuring time not same, for example, morning and evening, not putting equal weight on both feet, child holding on to something, a parallax error. What is the meaning of the parallax error? If you are not looking straight, you are looking from this side, then you might get a wrong measurement. Head not straight, up or down, so the measurement. So for the removing the parallax error, if you have got the plumb line or this thread is at a little bit distance from the original well or the needle, then you should put a mirror behind that. But in this case, it should not be there. If you are careful, then you will be avoiding. Head not straight, tilted forward or backward. Shrinking neck muscles, standing height is lesser as compared to recumbent length. So, what is recumbent length? When you are measuring the child, when the child is lying generally till the age of 2 to 3, then you try to get the recumbent length. Child flexing knees and elbows, improper use of the set square, feet with mud, weak muscles of hips and legs, child not standing still, child not looking straight, had measured after a strenuous exercise. A technical note about the beam setup for measuring height, which is provided with the weighing scales of beam type, is inappropriate for measurement of standing height, because the standing height machine or set squares, the method which we have described over here, should be used for the measurements. Now, when you are performing these measurements, then these measurements provide a wealth of pedagogical opportunities. For each and everything you can learn something, and there are different facets: biology, chemistry, engineering, health and safety, mathematics, physics and Quranic studies, that you can really teach something from this process. In biology, you can teach the metabolism of food. If the food is going in and it is being consumed properly, then the child is gaining height. Chemistry, the process of conversion of food resulting in the tissue synthesis, the phenomenon of gaining height. In engineering, the level surface is needed. Mounting of the engineering tape, the vertical mounting should be checked by the plumb line. Health and safety. Once you have a proper measurement of height and a series of the measurement of heights, then you can use it to evaluate nutritional status. Failure to gain height may be a signal to some physical problem, which is called failure to grow. Failure to gain height and developmental milestones may indicate a much deeper problem, that is failure to thrive. The pediatrician should look for indications of abuse, for example, neglect, peer pressure or bullying, verbal, physical or sexual abuse in this case. Whenever there is something like that is occurring, then there is an indication the child fails to gain height properly. From the point of view of mathematics, the significance of serial measurements, which is a time series, plotting of the graph, computation of slope, prediction of adult height, comparison with cutoff height for the armed forces career. The physics, actually the techniques of measurements, achieving reproducibility, applying equal weight on both feet. And from the Quranic studies, the Holy Quran, which is the sacred book of Muslims, mentions the appointment of Talo, in Urdu we call Talut, as the king over Israelites. Verse 247, chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, it is mentioned that Samuel, peace be upon him, had a rod. It was told to Israelites that their king would be as tall as the length of the rod. And this is the comparison of height with the agreed upon standard. Thank you for pairing up with me, and I hope you have learned this process. Look at the photographs and then you will see how to properly align and mount the children. And of course, by reading this, by listening to the lectures, you will not become an expert in the measurement of the height. You will have to go to the practical sessions. You will have to measure children, number of children, and then you see whether you are getting the reproducible results. And once you are able to do that, then probably you can really go to the actual measurement of the field studies. A time is coming then the measurement of the height and mass would become mandatory for the school children, and their growth profiles would be generated. So those who are really doing this and becoming accustomed to these procedures, they are really at the heck of the time, and then they are traveling with the time. So in the next session, we are going to talk about the measurement of the mass and almost on the same pattern, and then in the last and the final session, we will be talking about the measurement of the mid-palm circumference. Thank you very much.